Let me
Not bad,
start.
not bad.
Okay. All right. Welcome to United in the States. All right. Take two. These guys are tight right now. We're like 15 minutes in, still not live, but got my two guests on today. I got Mo coming live from London. I
Hey.
got Kevin, my fellow New Jersey Red Devil. How you guys
You're
doing today?
we're
Yeah,
doing
we're doing
good,
good.
bro.
We're doing good. At least we're celebrating today. We had four goals today, so it's a good night for us. A good
Yeah, for
win.
sure. For sure. That's, you know what? I just tallied it up. I think it's something like 20 goals in the last 7 games or 19 goals. So
Mm.
we definitely have our shooting boots on. We just, we do United things, and we almost did that today. And we concede at bad times. We drop our heads. We let teams back in. But today we managed to come out, with the positive goal difference.
It
Yeah, we
should
have a
have been
positive
it
goal
should have been
difference now
more
too.
in the first half, to be honest. It should have been like 5, but we're just not clinical. Like Garnacho isn't clinical. Dalot, like you gotta hit that man. Like he's no awareness of like the defender, running behind him. It should have been easily like 4 by halftime. You know what I mean? Because we had like 7 shots on target or something like that in the first half. So at least we scored 4, but it should have been more.
It should have been.
Yeah, definitely agree. But if you look, I think if you look at the match today, I think we were much improved. I think that's 2 matches in a row, at least in the first half, where we are, we look like we have a plan. We're getting off to a lead. We kind of have this makeshift back four. We're flopping the fullbacks, Delo and Wan-Bissaka right, left, trying to figure out kind of a match there. And then, we're playing two guys who are both older, injured, slow, but they're both putting in performances right now. But then again, like I said, we did United things. We conceded a goal off of an Onana mistake. I think his first big mistake since he's been back from AFCON. I know he was a little suspect there in the Champions League, but I think he's been solid in the league and in the cup since we've been back for 2024. But we did show a little bit of resilience today. We never stopped going, and we got the win at Old Trafford. I wanted to ask you guys. We talked about this before a little bit. We talked about the performance. If you could just quickly highlight what you saw today. We can go with Kevin first. I know you got to hop pretty soon, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, so the performance, like I was saying, it was good. It was we scored 4 goals, we won the game. You can't really complain much. And the defensive, like let's say the goals that we conceded, I don't really put it down to like the defense structure as much for today's game. So key players today were like Bruno, Dallo, Garnacho. That was pretty decent. Um, Hoyland was okay. So yeah, overall, a good performance from the team. Eric Ten Hag's game management was actually pretty decent as well. It was better today than other times. So at the end of the day, the most important, we had to get the 3 points. We did it, and we didn't capitulate like we always do when we go 1 or 2 goals down. We actually just came back, and we had most of the possession. So if we didn't win that game today in Old Trafford, it would have been embarrassing. So overall, I'm happy. We needed the 3 points because Newcastle dropped points, so we just got to keep that momentum going until the end of the season, and hopefully, make it to sixth place.
yeah, I mean, I think Villa got knocked out, right? Yeah, or they were moving on.
From where?
Villa's
From
in Europe, I mean. Sorry.
I'm not
Nah,
sure.
nah.
No,
They're still.
I
Villa's
think
still in, right?
I
Nah,
think so.
Villa is still in. Villa is still playing in
Okay,
Europe.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think Spurs have a very tough schedule, right? They already played who they play? Newcastle, and they
Yeah,
got
they
waxed.
still got. Yeah, especially they still
Right?
got Arsenal to play, and they still got Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea to play as well. So
Exactly.
at least, yeah,
So
so at least we still got a chance.
yeah,
Bro, we ain't gonna do it, bro. Come on. we ain't got
I
no chance. We ain't got
my
no
brand
chance,
is
bro. Come
relentless
on.
positivity. No, I feel you. I feel you. My brand is relentless positivity. But if I'm Eric Ten Hag, and based on our conversation today, I know Kevin is Eric Ten Hag as well. We'll get Mo's feelings on that a little bit later. But if I'm Ten Hag, I'm still saying let's push for the Champions League place. It's not just hey, let's see who's going to play in the FA Cup. I would say let's win out. Let's win all of our games. beating Arsenal is going to be hard. Beating Newcastle again, I think, will be hard. I think we have Brighton end of the season. They haven't been playing well lately, but I think that'll be a difficult match anyway. But I'm still pushing the team, saying, we need to push for those Champions League spots. I remember that it used to be the FA Cup win would get you a Europa League spot. I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, it's still the case. It's still the
but
case.
We can't rely on that, right?
Yeah, we
because we're
can.
playing Man City. So, I would push for that 4th spot. I would say we believe we can do it.
But
maybe we'll get a few people back, but yeah, go ahead, Mo.
You think is it possible to beat City in the FA Cup final?
We could do it in a one-off. In a one-off, we could do it.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Even without Aaron Ten Hag, personally, I want Aaron Ten Hag gone like ASAP. That's just me, because I feel like a new manager bounce, like someone else could set us up better, and a new manager bounce could actually, I guess, have the players have something to like actually fight for. So in my opinion, I would, but to be honest, even if he's here or he's not here, we could lose. I see us losing it. But if it's all about the players, they have to step it up. Like they gotta do what they did against Liverpool. You know what I mean? Like when like you're underdogs, like that somehow they, like when there's no pressure, somehow they turn up. You know what I mean? But when there's immense pressure, they capitulate. So it depends on like the mentality of the players as well, and how the manager sets us up, who he picks, and all this. So on the day, if all those favors us, like he makes the right decisions, the players turn up, he chooses the right players, we can do it, because City against Chelsea didn't look that great, but City could end up winning a 4th one and be like, let's do a double. So it depends, but we could definitely still do it. I think so.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility to win it, but do not forget that City, they played Real Madrid and they played that game against Chelsea less than 72 hours. So
that's true.
City,
that's true. They're very
were
tired. Yeah.
When they played Chelsea, and then they didn't have, what's his name, Haaland. Haaland wasn't in the squad, so do not forget that. But playing them on 25th is gonna be like they have almost like 3 weeks to rest to get ready for that game. And do not forget, City are like wounded lions because they've lost the Champions League. They're out of the Champions League, so now they are definitely going out for all out to get double this season, to get the Premier League and to get the FA Cup.
It's gonna be hard, man. It's honestly, I don't think we're gonna win it. I don't think so at all. But there is a chance that we do. I'm hoping, because that'll be a great. We need that FA Cup, and it'll stop City from winning a double. We could have stopped City last season from winning a treble, but we didn't, and that's disgraceful. Like, if that's not enough of a reason for you to turn up on the FA Cup, then I don't know what is. That to me was disgraceful. The fact that we could have stopped them, and we got to do the same thing this year, because we stopped Liverpool from winning the FA Cup or possibly winning the FA Cup.
We ruined Liverpool's season.
Exactly.
I feel like we ruined Klopp's song.
Exactly, and we got to do the same for City. You know what I mean? And that what happened last season should be motivation for these players. But City is a great, or they're like a machine. So it's gonna be tough, man.
I know it's a United fan channel. I know we're talking about United today, but can we just take a moment to laugh at Liverpool losing to Everton 2-0 today?
2-0.
Like, we really ruined their season.
And since Liverpool lost the FA Cup game at Old Trafford, they've not gained their form. They've been losing games since then. Ever since they lost to United at Old Trafford, they went ahead to lose to Atalanta at home 3-0, and they went ahead to lose to Crystal Palace at home as well. So ever since they lost to United, they've not found that rhythm that they used to have before they played us in the FA Cup. So at least we've written their season off. We just have to go all out and just mess everything up for Man City as well in the FA Cup final. Even though I know it's going to be a difficult one, but I'll be really excited if we at least get it away from Man City.
All you Liverpool fans, you guys are gonna win the same exact trophies that Erik Ten Hag won last season. Just let that sink in. Klopp's last season is gonna be an Erik Ten Hag season. Hold that, Liverpool fans. Hold it.
I mean, I personally think that's a compliment. I think Erik Ten Hag is twice the manager that Klopp is, but I'll go a little OD there.
Funny,
but again, just last point on the FA Cup. I think it's a week after the final Premier League game. I think the final Premier League game is on the 19th.
Yeah, 19th. And
Yeah.
the FA
So
Cup
and then
is
When's the
25th,
FA Cup?
25th. So on the 25th.
25th.
Oh, of May, right? Yeah, 25th May.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
25th
So
of May.
we're all going in, same time off. And look, Man City, they're not the team they were last year. They're still miles ahead of us. But again, like we said, in a one-off match, if we have the right players healthy, when we played them last, we were playing Lindelof at left back, I think. We were playing Amrabat off the bench. Amrabat came off the bench. I think if we have the right team in place, we can keep it close. We can score a wonder goal, kind of like Rashford did, and not give up. Even the last match in the Etihad, they were dominating possession, but they weren't getting great chances against us. So I think if we can keep it close, maybe scam an early goal and then hits it back and hit them on the break, we can probably get a result. Who knows? Maybe they get a red card. Knock on wood, they do, and then it'll
If he
be an
says
even
Rashford,
match. It'll be an even match.
if he says Rashford, we got no chance, bro. You gotta put yourself in a good position to win the game, right? And that means you have to set up the team the best possible way. In my opinion, the only reason why Rashford wasn't picked today was because he's injured or something. You know what
Yeah,
I
he
mean?
was injured.
Exactly. That's the only reason. Otherwise, Erik ten Hag wouldn't have dropped him. If Rashford was playing today, it could have been a completely different game because he just kills attacks and he's been the worst, one of the worst attackers. All of them have been pretty bad, to be honest, but he's been one of the worst for me. So, I'm saying, you got to put yourself in that position. So Erik ten Hag needs to make the right decisions, but you never know. Maybe he could pick up form. You know what I mean? It all depends on that. But I doubt it, man. I think he's done at this club, and it just looks like he doesn't care. So you know what I mean? So if he makes the right decisions, then we have a chance, and we got to give ourselves a chance at least, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, even talking about the injuries, I was just wondering, because looking at the injury list we had before, I was just before the game started today against Sheffield, I was looking at the list, and then you do know Mason Mount has been injured again. He wasn't part of the squad. Mason Mount, he has been off for almost almost half of the season injured. He came back a couple of games since he's been gone off injury again. Willie Kambwala has been spectacular for United, and he's off injured again. So I just keep on asking myself, how come the injuries that we've been having at Old Trafford, United, keeps on increasing day in day out? Because it's made Mason Mount. I'm just wondering, what happened to Mason Mount again?
I think it's the training. It's the training and
Oh boy.
the medical staff. I think it's a little bit of both. I think maybe Erik ten Hag is maybe training these players a little bit too intensely, and they're picking up injuries. And also, I think it's the medical staff. We're just not good enough. We're inept when it comes to our medical staff. So it has to be those two reasons. Because why is it that Mason Mount just came back? And then he's out. Why is it
He
that
didn't miss
Martinez
a
came
game.
back and then he's out again? You know what I mean? It doesn't make no sense.
Yeah, that's the medical staff for sure. I got no love lost for them, but I'm going to push back on the training point just because, how do Liverpool get in shape to press, the entire season? How do Man City get in shape where they're pressing and running the entire season? Arsenal doing the same thing. How are these teams able to get in that shape? Are they just not training? Is that what it is?
They're training, but it's probably not. The Premier League, it's so many games and so intense, right? You
But
got
we are not.
Europe.
But
There's a lot of games.
But we are not playing a lot of games like City and Liverpool because we got out of the Champions League
Yeah.
from the group stage. So our players should be in shape. But look at Liverpool and City. They play in the Champions League, they play in the FA Cup, they play in the Carabao Cup, they play in the Premier League. We were just playing in just 2 tournaments or three or something like that. But
But
yes, our injury list keeps on going on
but
and on
also
and on.
also rotation, man. This manager barely rotates. You know what I mean? He picks his favorites, and that's a part of it too. You know what I mean? You got to be able to trust the other players to come in and do a
Exactly.
job, and that's a big thing for me. So that some of it does come to the manager. He's not completely blameless in the injuries. He's the one that picks the team week in, week out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear you there. But again, we've had such a long injury list. I think it's been tough for him to rotate because he hasn't had, enough depth on the bench. If you even look at today, he has a bunch of kids, he has a bunch of youth players, people who played yesterday. And again, congratulations to the under 18s. They did the double.
Yeah.
They won the league, and then they won the League Cup against Man City, beating them 2-1, even though they subbed off, 3 of their best players at halftime. So they could be available today. One of them, Ethan Wheatley, managed to get into the game. But yeah, I just, what do you think though? Do you put all of this down to, him not rotating him, not trusting other players, or is the fact that I tweeted something yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it, but basically, Ten Hag's played his signings less minutes this year than last year, and it's combined over the last 2 years. So he had 2 windows last year, and his signings played a certain amount of minutes. He's had 4 windows combined this year, and the players from last year and this year have played less minutes, than they did the previous year. Does he have to trust players that he tried to sell, that he doesn't think can play his style, that maybe, he's trying to work in training, but they don't have the energy and the fitness and the conditioning to play his style of football? Or, is he supposed to completely change his style and play a different way, moving forward? I don't have like a right answer here. I'm just asking what you guys think, he should be doing in these situations.
For me, if you ask me, I'm just gonna say like, okay, he should just trust the players that he has, because he works with them in the training grounds. He knows everyone's capability. Looking at Bruno Fernandes, for instance, Bruno Fernandes has almost played all of our games this season. He's not the only midfielder we have. He has options. You can rotate midfielders. You had like Scott
Facts.
McTominay.
Facts.
You had Scott McTominay. You brought Amrabat in. You have Kobe Mainu. You have Ericsson. Ericsson was complaining earlier this season that he wants to leave because he wants more playing time. Imagine having Bruno Fernandes playing Premier League every weekend out, playing Champions League where we're in the Champions League, playing Carabao Cup, playing FA Cup, whilst you have someone like Christian Eriksen on the bench. Ericsson is equally good as Bruno Fernandes. Looking at Ericsson here, looking at his previous season, when he came to United, looking at his first season at United, looking at his performance, look at his performance at Inter Milan, look at his performance at Tottenham Hotspur. He's just had a couple of injuries along the line, but he's equally good as Bruno Fernandes, and he can do it. You saw his contribution today in the pitch. At least give some of these players a rest. If you have options in the midfield, just give them a try. You brought Sofian Amrabat in, but yesterday you don't use Amrabat. You use Kobe Mainu every weekend out. Imagine if Kobe Mainu picks up a knock. What happens now? You definitely have to depend on Sofian Amrabat. If on the left and right backs, you don't have options there, I understand if you don't have options there. But if you have options, just try to rotate the players. Try to rotate. John Evans had pickup injury, I think, about 2 weeks ago. But when John Evans was fully fit, he wasn't using Evans. He was using Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez until Lisandro Martinez got injured. Before, he had no option than to depend on John Evans. When Evans got injured, he has no option than to go back to Willy Kambuala. So you have to be rotating these players. Harry Maguire plays every game. Even if it's FA Cup or Carabao Cup or Champions League, Harry Maguire is in there, fit or not, unless maybe he's not on his form. So for me, my option is like, just give other players the chance to pick up. The more you play, the more you gain more confidence. But if you don't get the chance to play, you've been on the bench all season. The day you get the chance to play, Omari Forson is an example. Omari Forson is really good. If you look at his performance when he was in the academy, in the youth system, he's been equally good. But he brought him up only once to play for the senior team. He started for our game against Fulham. That was the only game that Omari Forson started. But since that game, he's not used Omari Forson. I think if he keeps on using Omari Forson day in, day out, he's gonna gain more momentum and more confidence. That anytime you call upon him, he'll definitely deliver because he's been playing in the senior team for more time and he has that confidence. So I think rotation and giving the players on the bench the opportunity to play as well is one thing that Erik Ten Hag is not doing. And that's my personal opinion. That's what I think about Ten Hag.
I agree with that. Also, like, if you don't, like, let's say Evans, right? Like, if you're not picking the players and you're just leaving them on the bench, when you bring them on, they're gonna be rusty. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're not gonna be match fit, and you put them in a high intense position, they're gonna get injured. You know what I mean? Like, you're risking them getting injured. You gotta incorporate your squad throughout every game, even if it's substitutions and all these things. And that goes back to his game management. That goes back to the players that he picks, so that all has a part to play. Like, imagine like you've been benched for like a couple games straight, like 4 games straight, and then all of a sudden you need to come in because someone else is injured, and you're not match fit. All you've been doing is just training. You haven't been playing a match. You're gonna get injuries. It's just a natural thing.
Yeah. And even with Casemiro has been like, with his experience and his achievements as a footballer, but age is catching up to him now. And I think he brought Amrabat in loan from what's the name, Florentina. Amrabat is equally a good player. If you see his performance for Fiorentina and what he did for Morocco in the World Cup, you could see Amrabat. The only thing he's lacking at United is the confidence that he has as Fiorentina. At Fiorentina, he detects the tempo of the game at Fiorentina. But at United, he doesn't have that confidence. So the more you play, at least using Casemiro week in week out, using Cobbino week in week out, in the long run is going to affect us because if any of them picks up a knock, and we've built our team around them, it's going to affect the club. It's going to affect our performance on the pitch.
Exactly, and Amrabat, I don't understand why this guy chased Amrabat so long and he doesn't even pick him. Like,
He doesn't even use him.
yeah,
So Amrabat, the one thing he had an injury, right? So he came in with an injury. He didn't have a preseason at Fiorentina. I think that hurt him pretty badly. He came in and it didn't work out, right? He's played a couple of matches. He hasn't looked good. He's played him at left back. He hasn't got a run in the team, and I completely agree. But I think what's happened this year, and this happens to a lot of United managers, or the last couple of United managers since we got rid of, or since Fergie retired, Sir Alex Ferguson retired. But the managers come in, and then the pressure and the environment is such where it almost makes them feel like they have to win every match.
But Amrabat, he played Amrabat out of position. Amrabat is not even a left-footed.
It's because we had nobody else to play there. It's because we had nobody else to play there, though.
On the left back to play, he's a right-footed player and he's a midfielder. If he's a left-footed midfielder and you put him to play on the left back, expect maybe a little bit performance from him. But he's a right-footed midfielder and you put him to play on the left back. Obviously, like, his performance is going to be like,
we had nobody else to play there.
Really bad.
We had nobody fit, right? We could have moved, I guess, Delo to that side.
But
Delo was our best player. Like, why would you move? They did it today, and it was fine. It was just, I think, to get Wan-Bissaka going. But Delo's been our best player, which is why we've kept Wan-Bissaka on the left side. So we didn't want to ruin, Delo's confidence and his flow, moving him to the left-hand side. I get what you're saying, but, he did try to sub Manu. And he did sub Garnacho when we were 3-up against Coventry, and he ends up getting blasted in the media because of that, right? I see he kind of has a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation here. And I agree. It's good to rotate. It's good to get guys minutes. But the back line, guys picking up injuries all the time. Sandro Martinez, he didn't get overplayed. Kufal fell on his knee. And then he got hurt when he came back. He got hurt in training, right? So, these are things I agree. I think it's completely on the medical staff. Apparently, the doctor that we signed from Arsenal last season or over the summer, he didn't start for 7 months. I think he was on gardening leave. So we didn't have a team doctor for 5 or 6 months. And then, we had a crazy season last season. City was, on for I guess they're not the quadruple, but they won the treble. And we played 5 more games than City did. And we had a World Cup in the middle. So I think you expect a lot of these players to get injured. But I agree. I honestly do think that you're right. He should, trust the squad a little bit more, make a few subs here and there. But I think the issues with the roster for the most part have been recruitment and, injuries this season. Based on both of those factors, all 3 of those factors.
I hear all of that, but I just want to go real quick back on the Amrabat point. Amrabat has been he's been fit for the majority of the season. When he came in, he wasn't fit, and then he wasn't available for a couple games. But the majority of the season, this guy has been fit. And what does Erik ten Hag do? He starts McTominay all the time. He does. When Manu was injured, this guy had Amrabat, wouldn't play Amrabat. So it's like. You know what I mean? It's like I get what you're trying to say that he didn't come in and he was a little injured, but this guy could have played Amrabat. This guy could have done something different in the midfield when we needed him, especially when Casemiro was out. Like if you think about it, Casemiro and Amrabat is almost like a like for like substitution. It's almost like a like for like position. But when Casemiro is not there, he still hasn't chosen Amrabat. And like after that Liverpool, I think the Liverpool tie, the draw that we got in Anfield, he had a good game. And then like after that, we didn't see this guy. Like we haven't seen him in the midfield. So it's like I just wanted to point that out that like he had the chance to actually play Amrabat, but he doesn't. For some reason, he loves McTominay. because he can get him a goal. But other than that, McTominay, what else does he contribute to the midfield? You know, if he's not scoring goals, what does he really contribute? Like, he's playing as a
Exactly.
false nine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's leaving the midfield wide open. Lately, we've been getting cut open, one pass, and we get cut open because the midfield is exposed. Why? Who sets that up? Erik ten Hag, because he chooses these players like McTominay who love to score a goal, leaving Mainu out to dry, leaving Bruno out to dry because Bruno's going everywhere, and then midfield completely exposed. This is why we're getting injuries, because the setup is wrong, and he doesn't choose the right players. So
And even
go for it.
Let me just come in. Speaking of the FA Cup game against Liverpool, like, here, from my opinion, I think like he should have even given Amad Diallo more playing time after that Liverpool game, because
Agreed.
that boy, he gained more confidence scoring that final goal against Liverpool. Give him that confidence that, like, he should have started him the next game.
He was suspended the next game.
But after that,
he was suspended.
You're saying he's suspended for taking his shirt off. So he
was suspended. But when he came back from the suspension, like, I was expecting him to get more playing time because he had that confidence. You know, when he scored a winning goal at Old Trafford, and you have the fans and the social media, like all the media talking about you, it gives you a different kind of confidence. So I was expecting him, like, to give him more playing time ahead of Anthony, because Ahmed is equally good. He's even better than Anthony. If you've seen Ahmed, like, he has like a lot of injuries along the line, but anytime he's playing for United, his contribution to the club, his delivering, his crossing, and his passing is much better than Anthony. So I was expecting, like, maybe Ahmed could have got more playing time. Look at the time he brought Ahmed in today. Ahmed, he came on today at 55th minute to stop Anthony. Anthony's contribution, even though he was sharp in the first half, but I was expecting, like, maybe Ahmed could have got more playing time.
But what does he do? He sticks with the players that have let us down all season. He sticks with Rashford. You know, he sticks with these players when he has a fully fit Ahmad on the bench. He had a fully fit Sancho, but chose to expose him out, to run him out to Dortmund. But when Garnacho was liking tweets, he didn't do that for Garnacho because he needed Garnacho, right? But he did that for Sancho. If we had Sancho, we would have had a better chance. We would have had a better chance to have more squad depth. We would have had better chance for us to actually win games when Rashford wasn't doing anything, when Garnacho wasn't doing anything. We had options, and that's why, for me, who's the one that chooses these players? You know, that's Erik ten Hag. So that Erik ten Hag is that, for me, that's on him.
Sure. Yeah, no, of course. The manager, the buck stops with the manager. But there's a couple points. With Amrabat, yes, he had opportunities to play him. Amrabat did play. And every time he played, he made mistakes. He played poorly. You could see, and you watch you don't know what's going on in practice. You don't know how guys or players are taking on instruction.
I feel that, but have the same energy for the other players that are making mistakes. Like, have the same energy for Rashford that's making mistakes. Have the same energy for all the other bad players that are making mistakes.
But it's not just mistakes where they make bad decisions. I agree. There's players who aren't playing well, but if the manager has a system, or if he has a game plan, and the players aren't following that game plan, or they're not picking up the tactics in practice and training sessions, then he can't feel confident playing them. You know, listen, I'm not saying the team's been great. I'm not saying players have been great. I know fans want, him to make changes and push new players in, give them a chance. But I almost feel like, and this is across the fan base, we always have sort of this like savior mentality. If only he played Garnacho, not Garnacho, if only he played Ahmad, if only he played Pellistri, if only he played Amrabat, if only he played Donny van der Beek. I agree. I think Ahmad is a way better player than Anthony. Maybe he doesn't feel that Ahmad is ready to start in the Premier League. He's a smaller dude. He's a very talented player.
But come on, dude. Last year in the championship, this guy was player of the year in the championship. What do you mean? Like, he's not ready to start in the Premier League?
And he also played in Scotland the year before, and he couldn't get off the bench.
Yeah, but he's ready. How are you picking him after Rashford? You know what I mean? Like, this whole he's not ready thing is invalid, bro.
You don't know he's invalid. You haven't seen him. Maybe he plays. He starts.
I've seen he's done more than when he came on Coventry. He's done a lot more. He's done more than Rashford did in 30 seconds. He's done more.
You only see him in spurts. He comes on later. I don't want to talk over him. I'm just saying he comes on later in the game. And the same thing happened with Garnacho, right? Last year, Garnacho, he was a player who came on. He was an impact sub. He would come on. He would change the game. Garnacho started the season. He was a starter. He started very slowly this year because he was adjusting to becoming a starter. And maybe that's what Ten Hag's trying to do. Maybe he's trying to ease them in slowly. We can't rely and over rely on these young players. Ahmad got hurt in preseason and he was out until January. I didn't see what happened. I don't know if it was a knee injury or whatever. Some of these players, maybe they're not physically ready and they got to get to the point where they can play in a Premier League match. And again, he's relying on his senior pros. I've seen him do that. I've seen him overplay players. I know the Ajax people said, listen, he's stubborn. He's going to play his guys. He's going to stick with his guys. And you just kind of got to deal with it because he wins. And he hasn't won here. And I understand why people are upset. I'm worried, that like every time, we build these players up that we barely see. Pellistri was another one of them. Pellistri, he played, in 5, 10, 15-minute spurts. I think Ahmad is 10 times better than Pellistri, but everyone was like, we need to start Pellistri. Antony hasn't been good enough. Like, you're right, Mo. He was sharper in the first half. He was good against Chelsea. He's looked better lately since he's come back into the fold. But, we know what we're getting from Antony as a starter. From Ahmad, we don't know necessarily if he's going to be consistent, if he's going to do that for a full 90. I do want to see more of him. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that, the fact that he hasn't played him up until recently, I think he had to get to that point where he felt comfortable playing him.
I get that, but that decision cost us games, cost us points. Because if you look at, we're going back to the Fulham game because Amari Forson started that day.
Game, yeah.
Amari Forson started. He could have chose Ahmad. He brought Ahmad on, and Ahmad was actually doing things. I was actually at Old Trafford that day. I was at Old Trafford, first time ever, Theater of Dreams, and we lost 2-1 by Wobie
that day as well.
Yeah, you were. Yeah,
they lost.
We lost 2. We lost 2-1. We lost 2-1. Come on, bro. And Ahmad came on. He did more than any of the attackers that were on that day. So it's like you could have started Ahmad. Why'd you start Amari Forson? We never saw him ever again until today. So it's like decisions like that. It's like it's like baffling. Yeah. That cost us though. That could have possibly cost us 2 points or 3 points at Old Trafford. You know what I mean? So I get what you're trying to say. But whatever, like, I get the reasons behind it, but that has cost us like big time. And in my opinion, you got to do what you got to do. That's gonna get us the 3 points, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. So I guess that's my take on it.
No, I agree. I also take issue with you comparing Garnacho liking tweets to Sancho calling the manager a liar and then not apologizing and deciding he'd rather sit in the reserves instead of apologizing. Just real quick, we don't have to get too far into it. What do you guys think about Sancho? Would you take him back at the club?
I would. I definitely would, because Sancho has proven himself that he's a baller. You know what I mean? Let's be honest, his career at United hasn't been that great. He wasn't pulling up trees, and his confidence was very low. But you gotta keep in consideration that Ali barely picked him, and Erik ten Hag was actually using him in preseason as a false nine, and he was actually playing good and playing well. And then what happened? The season started, and he reverted back to Garnacho. Didn't give Sancho playing time. He did what he's doing to Ahmad. That's what he did to Sancho. The difference is that Sancho, he knows he's a baller. He knows he's a player. He knows he's gonna waste his time, his career, if he doesn't play. So he had to do what he had to do. Was it right? No, it wasn't right for him to call out the manager, and it wasn't right for the manager to call out Sancho, because Sancho wasn't even in the squad that day. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, both of them handled it poorly. Both of them have parts to blame. And the club should have done better. The club should have been like, listen, this needs to be sorted, because you all work for me. You know what I mean? The manager and the player, you all work for me. We're paying your wages. Sort it out. Stop being crybaby. Stop. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, he's doing what he's doing in Dortmund. He's balling out. I'm happy for him. Good for him. It's better for us too, because even if we decide to sell him, we increase his value or whatever it is. But personally, I would give him a chance under a new manager, because we need players like that can hold the ball, that are very creative. We need wingers like that. We need the depth. So personally, I would, but I don't know. That's just me.
What about you, Mo? Would you take Sancho back?
Yeah, I'll take Sancho back, but it depends. It depends on the situation and the manager in charge next season. If it's Eric Ten Hag, I'm definitely gonna bring him back because Eric Ten Hag is a kind of player, like he said, he's a stiff-headed manager. He doesn't like to rotate the players, and you could see this season that he has used Garnacho on the left-hand side, almost like he rotates between Garnacho and Rashford, either on the left or on the right. Bringing Jadon Sancho back next season, if he's going to be Eric Ten Hag, he's definitely going to end up sitting on the bench maybe most of the time or half of the season. And Garnacho is like, he's still younger and he's very good. He's very good. Bringing him back to the club, like, if it's still Eric Ten Hag, I'll say no. But if it's going to be a different manager, I'll say, yeah, bring him back to the club. But the way he handled the situation with Eric Ten Hag, like with Sancho, I agree with Kelvin. That was like totally off the book. You don't have the right to, like, even though you are the manager, but it's not fair to call the player out in public. Let's just look at a little example here. Before our game against Newport in the Carabao Cup, Marcus Rashford was in the club in Belfast. He spent the weekend like in Belfast, going out with the club and that kind of thing. And on Thursday, he was supposed to report to training, but he didn't come to training. And then on Friday, he was not still in London, even though he was in Manchester, but he didn't report. He called sick. The manager didn't call him in the interview that he did. He was asked about Marcus Rashford, and he said this is an in-house issue that we're gonna deal with it in-house. So he should have done the same with like Jadon Sancho. He shouldn't have called Jadon Sancho. He should have even given excuse. If he could see, since even though he's learned from the Sancho situation, since that incident, he's never called out a player out in interviews. He has never called out a player since what happened with Jadon Sancho. No matter the interview, no matter the questions that comes, he'll tell you like, okay, this is an in-house issue. So for me, I think like they should let bygone be bygone and just let's put the club's priority first. What matters is United to get to the top and where we belong. It's nothing about like personal pride or personal ego. Maybe at the end of the season, if he's still going to be there, if he's still going to be at United next season, he should just consider Sancho's performance and then maybe try to sort stuff out, try to sort like things out behind the door, and then let's see what happens next season.
Yeah, just like real quick, like I heard you say the Rashford and then the Garnacho situation. Like listen,
Completely different.
if you're gonna send out Sancho, that's fine, but keep the same energy for the rest of the squad. Sancho
They
called himself.
apologize.
Hold on, hold
Though.
on.
They
Sancho,
apologize.
Sancho called himself a scapegoat. That's the exact same definition of a scapegoat because
He said
the
the
other
same
two
thing in
players
Dortmund. Not Dortmund.
did
He said the
did
same thing
worse.
in the past.
Rashford did worse and went out to a club and he didn't call him out. He said, "Oh, we're handling it internally." Just that shows that there was something going on between him and Garnacho, bro. He's not your dad. You don't have to apologize to him. Like that's not your like. You know what I mean? It's like
he's your boss. He's
bro,
your
but
boss.
you don't have to.
If you go to your job and you call your boss an idiot and you curse him out, you don't have to apologize. If he's like, "Nah, you can't work here anymore."
If he's telling you that you're not if he's telling you and calling you out, I'll be like, listen, I'm here to defend myself. I don't criticize Sancho that much. I know it was wrong in the way he did it, but I don't criticize him for doing it because he's a good player. He knows he's a good player. He's been treated
But he didn't
unfairly,
call him out for not being a good player. He said his training wasn't up to standard. Look, we don't know exactly what happened. We don't see the video. There was an article that said Ten Hag took Sancho in, he sat him down, and he showed him exactly what he meant about him not being up to snuff in training. Sancho's issue was he felt like he should be playing because other guys weren't playing well, and he felt like, why am I not in the team? So he probably didn't train as hard as he could, right? And then when Ten Hag called him out about it, and look, I think he shouldn't have handled it the way he did, just from a pure selfish perspective. If Sancho hadn't done that, then when Antony took that leave of absence, we would have had someone to play on the right wing instead of having to shuttle Bruno or Mount or whoever out there, start Palestri, who didn't do well, right? Like, we would have had a right winger out there. Nobody wanted Jadon Sancho more than me. I was tired of watching, Dan James or whoever running down the right wing, couldn't make a pass, couldn't beat a man. And then we signed Sancho, and he hasn't been good. And if you look at the first season, Ten Hag, Sancho was his guy from preseason all the way up till mid-October, mid-November, whenever it was. And then he said, you know what? I need to get this guy away from football. Something's wrong. We need to fix it. And he let this guy go on a hiatus for 3 months. Like, what other manager has done that for a player? Just said, you know what? You go figure it out. It's okay. If you look at Sancho's Twitter profile, his background picture was Old Trafford, but then that little, I forget what it's called, the profile picture or whatever, it was him and Ten Hag the moment he came back from his hiatus and got subbed back in the game. That was one of his happiest moments. So they obviously didn't have like super beef. And yes, he did play him at false nine in the preseason, but I don't think that was his plan. I think he could have played him there, yeah, for sure. But, I think Ten Hag and other managers have said it in the past, kind of behind closed doors. They kind of question Sancho's commitment. I think he has all the talent in the world, and I hope he kills it at Dortmund and somebody could take his bloated salary off the books. And I hope he has a great career. But I think, one of the problems of the past is that we have too many players who are here for themselves and not here for the badge. And I think, doesn't matter who the manager is, whether it's Ten Hag or Michael Carrick or, Van Gaal or Moyes, you got to fall in line and you got to be there for the club and you got to have that mentality and that character and that, culture where you're not doing things like this and going rogue in the media.
Look, at the end of the day, we can all just speculate, what's happened between Sancho internally. All we know is that something definitely happened between him and like a fallout between him and Erik ten Hag. That's the only thing that we can be for sure. We can all speculate like things like, like
he didn't apologize.
Yeah,
he didn't apologize.
But you got to keep in my thing is just keep the same energy for the rest of the players. That's it.
He did. They apologized. Rashford was suspended for a game.
But do not forget that he didn't call Sancho and he didn't call Rashford and Garnacho out in the public like he did with Sancho.
That's facts.
Okay, but he wasn't at. Well, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't.
You learned. They changed the strategy. He was probably like, I'm sure the hierarchy told him not to do that anymore. I'm sure they were like, look, maybe this isn't a good idea. In the future, when the media baits you, they ask you a question. Look, it's not he's not the first manager to do this. Pep Guardiola called Calvin Phillips fat once.
Yeah, but you're talking about Pep Guardiola and Erik ten Hag. Like, you can't compare the both.
That's different. That's different. No, you can't say that. Why is it okay just because he's Pep he can do that? That's the problem. We can't treat people differently. How did everyone the same? I know, and he said, but this year they asked why doesn't Nunez play? They signed Nunez from Wolves, killed us. They signed him after he killed us in the first match of the season, and they asked why hasn't he played? And he was like his first touch isn't good enough, right? He's calling this guy out in the media. We haven't
heard Sancho's side of the story yet. We just heard whatever the media is telling us. We're just hearing whatever Erik ten Hag told us. We haven't heard Sancho's side of the story. We did hear Sancho's side.
He said he lied.
So once we hear Sancho's side, then we can actually be like, okay, who's in the right, who's in the wrong. For me, both are in the wrong. Mainly Erik ten Hag, because he's the one that shouldn't have done that. You're a professional, you're a manager, you're supposed to set an example, and that's on me. That's what I think. The best managers are able to manage players. Like Sir Alex Ferguson was a world-class manager. He knew how to talk to the players a certain way. He knew which players, he knew how to talk to them. Clearly, he has no idea how Sancho would have reacted. You know what I mean? He was probably expecting a complete opposite reaction. Clearly, he wasn't expecting that. So to me, that he has part of blame in that as a manager. That's a responsibility of yours as a manager for Manchester United.
Exactly.
That's just my opinion. We can go all day talking about Sancho.
Every manager falls out with players. I mean, Pep fell out with Yaya Toure.
Just have the same energy is all I'm saying. Just have the same energy.
All these guys. Yeah, he tried something different. He said maybe this is this is how I'll get to him. That's what it feels like to me as someone who's managed and coached and been a leader in situations. Sometimes you try to reach someone a certain way, it doesn't work, so you have to switch tactics. Of course, we'll never know unless we see the tape and we can see Jadon Sancho punting balls into the stands like he's Brandon Marshall when he wanted a new deal from the Denver Broncos, or if Ten Hag is picking nits. But you're right, we'll never know exactly what happened. Everyone can just kind of speculate there.
Yeah, exactly. For me, what matters is like they should just put their prides aside and just put United's goals and targets as their priority. That's what matters. Like Ten Hag he can keep his prides and his goals. If the team doesn't do well, he might get fired at the end of the season. So for me, it doesn't matter whoever is like he's right or wrong. Let's just make sure United is performing. That's what matters to me the most.
And that's why the club has part of blame too. Like the club should have handled that. The club should have handled that internally and be like, they should have sat both of them down and be like, this has to stop right here. We're paying you high wages. We need you in the squad. And then that's obviously the structures issue. That's more deeper. But the club should have, the way they handled that was just terrible, man.
Yeah, it was really terrible.
Yeah, and hopefully Ineos and Sir Jim can handle that. I know he's putting together a new hierarchy. Van Gaal, Mourinho has talked about it. I don't know if Moyes really spoke about it, but I remember we played West Ham last year, and it looked like Moyes and Ten Hag were arguing on the sidelines. But I heard somewhere that they were actually talking about what it was like to be Manchester United manager and all the nonsense you had to deal with. And I think Mourinho kind of spoke about, there was nobody above him. It was just the manager. Everything that happens in the club, you look at big clubs or other clubs around Europe, whether it's, a big club like Bayern or even Dortmund, which is a smaller club, there's a CEO. There's someone who they can go to and they can talk to when there's an issue and about everything. But at United, the manager is the only person. And I know that's kind of the system that we had in place when Sir Alex Ferguson was here. But, he retired. Everyone else has moved on to a modern system. It's just a travesty that it's taken 10 years for us to even think about putting a new system in place. But yeah, back to the game. I know there was a game today. We forgot about it for a second. Do we feel like United needs Europe next year, whether they have Ten Hag or not? Or is it better to kind of like start fresh, treat this as a new blank slate with Ineos coming in and getting their signings, hopefully, even though we might not have a director of football in place? Like, is this something that, we need to be in Europe? Or if, we fell out of the Europe places, we just use these last couple of games to, kind of blood in some of the younger players, see what we have, let people fight it out for the FA Cup final. What would you want to see going forward, provided we, get a win in the FA Cup?
Well, I'll go really quick before I have to bounce. So yeah, I just want to see good performances. I just want to see good performances that and hopefully would make us build some momentum towards the FA Cup. And then hopefully we can leave the season with an FA Cup. That's my I'm not really looking about fifth place. Like we should just focus more on the cup, in my opinion. And in order for us to do that, we need to win our games. Am I confident? Not really, but it is doable. But even if this manager wins the FA Cup, he in my opinion, he needs to be gone in the summer. And Ineos, I'm on Ineos watch. I'm watching Ineos heavy, because if Ineos keep this manager next season, then everything that they said to us is a lie. Everything about best in class, everything about them wanting Manchester United to be one of the best teams in the world is a lie, because big clubs make big decisions. Like Bayern told Tuchel, he's like, at the end of the year, you're out. Barca, at the end of the year, Xavi's out. Real Madrid, all these big clubs make big club decisions. So Ineos, if you want to be a big club, you got to make a big decision. And if you keep this manager, then everything you said, you're just gaslighting us. You're just lying to us. And and that's just my opinion. I think he's gone. Personally, I think so. I think that they're just maybe like, assessing their options, and maybe they want to talk to like Jason and Dan when they come in and all that. I'm not too sure. Personally, I think he's gone, but yeah, that's just my opinion. I think that we need a new manager and under a new direction, manager that would be able to get the best out of these players, because realistically, we can't get rid of these players like in one window. We're gonna need like a lot. We're gonna need like 2-3 windows to get to rebuild the squad and get rid of the bad players and the deadwood and all this. So realistically, we need a manager that's going to be able to get the best out of the players that we have, and then hopefully maybe eventually we get like an Ancelotti, or like let's say Hansi Flick, or Xabi Alonso. Maybe in a couple years, I'm not saying we're going to get him.
Alonso.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying we're going to get him, but I'm saying a manager like that. A manager that's like, okay, now you're going to take us. We need a manager. We need like a stepping
Quickly,
stone.
who would you pick now? Who would you pick now?
It's tough, man. I like Nagelsmann. I really like Nagelsmann.
He signed up for 2 more years with Germany.
Yeah, I heard.
I
I
know
like
Bayern was
Nagelsmann.
chasing him. Bayern fired him, and then they wanted him back
I
because
know
they
it's
realized
crazy
what
because
they
they
did.
changed. I think Oliver Kahn left or something, and he had a fallout with him. So I think that's why they want him back. Um, I mean, I don't know. Like personally, I'm not too sure. I I wanted De Zerbi at first, but the thing is, right now he's not looking so good. But the only reason why I wanted De Zerbi is because he has a philosophy and he could get the best out of the players that he has in Brighton, and which, to be honest, the players at Brighton aren't that great. He's made players like McAllister, like Caicedo, or the players now, Dingra, Welbeck. He's made those players like look actually like good players, Solly Marsh, Gross. So I think we need that type of style of manager. Not saying De Zerbi, but I'm saying someone that has a philosophy, an Ange maybe or something, like someone that's gonna stick to their guns, someone that's gonna get the best out of the players. Because realistically, we're gonna be stuck with the majority of these players for a couple seasons. So I know people want to say, "Oh no, don't get rid of the manager because we need to get rid of the players and all this thing." I get that. I want to get rid of both. You know what I mean? But it starts and ends with the manager, mainly, in my opinion. And are we good enough with this squad to win anything? No. And no matter what manager comes in, I don't think we're going to be able to challenge with this squad, but we can definitely do better, a lot better than what we're doing. So I would want like a stepping stone manager that can take us to like, okay, now we're ready for like a Ancelotti or like a Zidane or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's just my personal opinion.
Mm.
If we get rid of both, right? What sort of rebuild timeline would you feel comfortable with?
Mm.
Two, 3 years, like it depends. I'm not too sure. A year, but
Two?
For
but
me,
you-
for me,
but you gotta. There's context, right? Like Eric Ten Hag was supposed to be that manager, right? And he was supposed to take us to that direction this season. Last season he did good, but then this season has been a disaster.
What
So,
happened this season?
but
so
he has a lot of things happen, but he also has his own players here. He has his own players, his own squad that he brought in
me,
from the
He
Eredivisie.
doesn't though. They haven't been
he
available
has.
this
Does
season. They
So
haven't been available
can I
this
just
season.
quickly?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
go
ahead,
for it.
Mo.
Go
Go.
for it,
Yeah,
bro.
Sorry.
Go
Go
for
ahead.
it.
yeah. I'm just quickly just gonna chip in like what Kelvin was saying. Yeah, I would love. For me, like I keep on saying, what matters to me like the most is to see the club performing against the likes of Man City and Liverpool. If you ask me, I'm just gonna say like, okay, I don't mind if Eric Ten Hag is gone. If he goes by tomorrow, I don't mind. If someone is gonna come in who is going to take the club to the next level, I'll be okay. But if you look at Eric Ten Hag, he signed 3 years contract at United. His first season at United, he performed really well at United. But this season, looking at the number of injuries that we have, and then they're like looking at the managers that Kelvin was mentioning, like Zidane, like Javi, what's the name, Javi Alonso, and all of these people. The clubs that they are managing, they have structure in place. They have even De Zerbi at Brighton. They have this recruitment team in place. They have sporting director. They have CEO. They have all of these people in place. But United, Eric Ten Hag, since he came in, he's been the boss from top to the bottom. He calls the shot. Look at all the signings that he did. He brought Onana in. He worked with Onana Ayas, and he brought Onana in. I don't think if we had someone like Dan Ashworth, we could have easily signed Onana. Looking at Dan Ashworth, what he did at Newcastle before they sign a player, the recruitment team they bring the name on the board. They have a board that assess the player, like the scout team. They assess the player, and then he takes the name of the player to Eddie Howe. So Eddie Howe has to assess if this player is fit enough for his team, and now they have to assess the price of the player. Is the players going to be good enough for United? But look at Eric Ten Hag. Since he came in, he brought Onana in. He said he wanted Onana, and he got Onana. He said he wanted Lisandro Martinez. He got Lisandro Martinez. He said he wanted Tyrell Malacia. He got Tyrell Malacia. He wants Safian
Anthony
Amrabat. So that he wants Anthony, and he got Anthony. That shows how weak
Mount, Mason
our
Mount.
structure is. So if I think with having like Ineos now that we bring in new people like Jason Wilcox, we bring in an Ashworth in, we bring in Omar Berada in. For me, if you ask me, I'm just gonna say, okay, let's give him one more season. Let him work with a good structure behind him. Him having the scout, let him deal with the like playing body of the team, and let the people behind the scene do the work behind the scene. And let's see his performance. Because looking at what he did at Ajax, he had Van der Sar as chief executive of Ajax. He had recruitment team. He had a
Mark
scout team.
Overmars.
He had Martin Bilker as director of football at Ajax. So he had all of these things in place. What he did at Ajax was like just focusing on the playing body, and we all see like his record could say we all see what he did in Champions League at what he did at Ajax. So I think like okay, give him the chance, get him the people behind the scene, and let's see what he can do. One more season is gonna be come on. Since Sir Alex Ferguson left, it's been 10 years since Alex, or maybe more since Alex Ferguson left, and like we've been struggling. Giving him one more season to see, let him finish out his contract, and let's see what happens next season. For me, that's my opinion.
I hear that. I hear that. Just before I go, I just want to say, um, I hear all of that, and I agree. Our structure isn't good at all. But to me, I feel like I've seen enough from Erik ten Hag outside of the structure that isn't good enough. Like the tactics that he has, like the picking of the squad, like the substitutions, like the game management, like the player management. So it's like all of these things are essential, in my opinion, to a good manager. So what I think is, even with the proper structure that we will give him, and if we give him, let's say, good players or whatever, I just don't think that we're going to be able to compete and challenge for the league. And isn't that the objective, to be a United fan? We should be
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
challenge for the league. So in my opinion, I've seen enough from this guy to know that he's not good enough, even with the structure. And he has some of the players. I know it's like the structure didn't choose some of the players, and I get that. But if he can't get the best out of the players that he properly chose was going to be good for his system, then what makes you think that he's going to be able to get the best out of players that other people bring for him? You know what I mean? That he's never worked with before. He's never worked with Dan Ashworth. He's never worked with Jason. So nothing is a guarantee whether Erik ten Hag stays or go. I understand that. But in my opinion, I think we have more of a chance of success if we get rid of him. And that's just my opinion. I've seen enough of this guy already. I want him out. If
Exactly.
he's here next season, I can't take another season of this. I please God, don't give me another season of this. I went to Old Trafford for the first time this season. I went to Manchester Derby. We got spanked. We got spanked 3-1. I had experience embarrassment. I spend my money, but you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care because I love this team. I love Man United. But I'm not in love with this team anymore, and I cannot do one more season of this. And that's just me. That, you know what I mean? That's just me.
It's
That's
really
fine.
painful.
No,
Like,
it's good you have your opinion, and everyone
yeah,
is entitled to their opinion. I
yeah, I agree,
understand.
Kevin. Like, it's really painful, like, to be at Old Trafford, like, getting the ticket to get in the stadium, and then we lose, like, at Old Trafford. Or even when we're playing away, it's kind of like painful. I was at the game against Fulham at Old Trafford, and imagine I went with National Express, like, I traveled 6 hours from London to Manchester,
It's
and we
far,
lost two
man. It's
hours.
far. It's
Yeah,
deep.
and I was shooting content like I usually like shoot content. I mostly like have the conversation with some of the fans before and after the game. So imagine I was having all of this stuff with me, and then I traveled all the way to Manchester, and then we lost 2-1 and had to travel 6 hours. Imagine like the depression in the bus, like thinking, oh, I traveled all the way to Manchester and then we lost again. Coming back home, like you have to come and sit down. When I got home, I even lost the energy to edit that video. Even recently, like our game against was it in Coventry, the FA Cup. I was at Wembley and I shot some videos with some of the fans. But how I was so disappointed with our performance that like I have some videos. I still have fresh videos that I'm supposed to edit, but like I haven't even got the confidence to do it. Like, because I've lost the energy. You don't feel it. Like I just like what Kevin is saying. We all want United to be where United is. When you're shooting content, where you're talking about United, you talk about United with pride. That yeah, this is the United that we all know. This is the United of Sir Alex Ferguson. Not that kind of United that when you're playing against a team like Coventry or Sheffield United or Fulham, you're just hoping to base on luck so we can win. Yeah, we're just hoping maybe we can win. Maybe we can lose.
Or individual brilliance from somebody,
Individual
like a
brilliance,
screamer.
exactly. Exactly. If you just take up, just ask yourself how many goals have we scored?
When
Most of our
away.
goals, most of the goals that we scored in our last 3-4 games has come from Bruno Fernandes. Just take up that goals from the total number of goals that we scored, and just ask yourself how
What
many
about
goals
the
have we scored?
Delo goal when he crossed to McTominay against Coventry? Look, I get what you guys are saying, and I understand, but like the recruitment and had his players available to him. I'm looking at the Manchester City game. The only player who started that was bought by Ten Hag was Onana. The only player who came off the bench, or sorry, there was two of them, was Ericsson and Anthony. And then the only other two available were Johnny Evans and Amrabat. And you can't tell me that Ten Hag wanted Johnny Evans when we were chasing Kim Min Jae, who was supposed to be our first signing. Same way Frankie de Jong was supposed to be our first signing the year before. The same way he asked for Timber before Martinez. Martinez was great.
Yeah. See, if
Look
I
at
may
the
just
City
come in
game.
here.
The only player we started that he bought, or two players, were Johnny Evans and Onana. We started
See,
Lindelof at
yeah.
left back. I
See,
agree,
if
Johnny
yeah,
Evans was good that
if you're saying
game.
that, let me
Johnny
just
Evans
come
was
in.
actually good that game.
See,
but he's
if you're
not a
saying
Ten
that, yeah,
Hag player.
yeah. See, if you're saying that, yeah, I want Ten Hag to be successful at United. But if you're saying that, looking at Ten Hag, just 2 seasons, he spent more than 400 million pounds at
That's facts.
United on his
That's
signing.
facts.
Looking at Brighton, give Brighton like do the total addition of Brighton's signing for the past 3 years. They've not even spent more than £400 for the past 3 seasons. Brighton, but in just 2 seasons, you've spent £400 million and you're still struggling to get the best players in. Then how do you spend your money? How do you do the recruitment then? Then there's
He's
a lot
not
of
writing
question
the
mark
checks
over there.
though. He's not writing the checks. I agree. It was a bad
But he
idea,
brings the
but
play.
he said buy Anthony in June, and then after we had already said, okay, we're gonna go buy Rabiot and Arnautovic, and then the fans were like, you can't buy Arnautovic, he's a racist. That's when they went back to Anthony, and that's when they spent all the money on him. That's why they spent so much money on Casemiro. Those were panic buys. Those were the club's inability to do business the right way. That was Richard Arnold and Murtaugh, who are both gone now. I agree. If there's another season like this, he should go. Right? If a season looks this way, if we look this bad next year,
Bro.
if we have all his players, no, I agree. We should go.
One more
This
season
isn't
like
the
bro,
most disappointing
I'll
season
stop
for
watching.
me.
I'll stop watching, bro. I'm done, bro.
The Ronaldo season, I can't stop watching, but I agree. The Ronaldo season, that was the one for me that was the worst. Because when Ronaldo signed, he scored those 2 goals against Newcastle. And then, like, there was such a high at that moment. The way that season finished in the Ragnick era, it was such a, like, bile in my mouth. And, like, I could never get over that one. But
bro, at least with
I think
Ali,
with this manager,
we scored goals. We have a negative goal difference, dude. Like that, he's breaking. Eric Ten Hag is breaking records after record, and that to me is unacceptable as a Man United manager. We're talking about Man United, yeah, big, but we were once big. We're not big anymore. But we should
again,
have
we're
that same
scoring
energy.
goals now.
We should
We've
have
been
that same.
scoring goals.
Yeah,
we've
but
been scoring goals since
we also been
since, like,
conceding goals as well. That's a
we've been
negative
conceding-
goal
we've been
difference.
right,
conceding a lot of
because we
goals.
don't have the players to play
Disgraceful.
this
It's a
style.
disgrace, bro.
I
Look at
don't
Arsenal.
understand. Everyone was like, come
What's
to
the-
United, play the Ajax style. He doesn't play the Ajax style. Everyone's like, why are you sitting deep and countering? This is not how United should play. United's supposed to be exciting and attacking. And then what happens? He says, okay, we're going to be exciting and attacking. We're going to get opened up a little bit at the back. And now people are complaining, oh, you're scoring goals, but not like that. I just think that this season, his defense has been a complete shambles. Something like 32 different back fours in whatever 35 matches total, right? So he hasn't been able to create any sort of defensive consistency and not play his players. He wanted to get Kim Min-jae. He wanted Timber. He wanted Martinez to be healthy. These are guys that can play a high line. You can't play Johnny Evans a high line. You can't play Maguire in a high line. You can't play Rafael Varane's ghost in a high line as much anymore. I think he was very good this year, but he's lost a yard of pace. And, Martinez didn't look right. I agree. If it looks like this next year, shut it down. But I have sorry, go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, I think for me, like what Kevin was saying earlier on, probably maybe the decision has already been made about Eric Ten Hag. Probably he might be gone. Maybe after the FA Cup final game against City, whether we lose or win, he's just gonna be like Luis van Gaal. Luis van Gaal won the FA Cup and he got fired on the stadium. Like in the stadium, he got a letter that okay, this is the end of your day at United. So probably like what
that was
Kevin was
dirty,
saying,
bro.
yeah, I think probably the decision has already been made. Like looking at we've had some bad performance this season, bro. Our game, we have no style of play. Most of our game has been chaotic. Look at our game against Brentford, it's total chaos. Look at our game against Chelsea, a lot of goals, chaos, no pattern of play. We had the same against Liverpool. Even look at the only nice game that I've seen we played is today. Today's game is something that you can say, okay, there has been a tempo, there has been a style of play. But most of our games has been like, okay, we just go all of the depend on individual brilliance to win a game. So I think that Ten Hag, it might be difficult for Ten Hag. Yeah.
I agree. Listen,
it's the players, the players are terrible.
If we were looking at something, for example, if we saw a vision and we saw a style, like for example, let's take Newcastle, right? Let's say their goal difference is 15 and ours is 1. I get it. They're behind us and they're not the metric. I get it. But when you watch Newcastle, you can actually see a style. When you watch Spurs, you actually see a style. When you watch Arsenal, you can actually see a style. When you watch Brighton, you can see what they're trying to do. With United, I can't see it. And to
Exactly.
me,
No,
that's
I agree.
unacceptable. At least if I were to see something and be like, listen, we're getting battered or we're getting these results, but you know what? I can see what the manager is trying to do. He's trying to play these players, and he's trying to get the best out of these players. And I see that we're actually trying to, let's say we're just not finishing our chances or something like that. I would be like, okay, give him another year. But to me, like, there's nothing of that I see when teams like Bournemouth are coming to Old Trafford beating us 3-0. That's just unacceptable. I'm done with this guy. Get this guy out. I don't, Chris, I know you're on that positivity train, but bro, I cannot take one more year of this, bro. I can't.
It's not just positivity. If you look in the beginning of the season, right, we lost to Spurs away. We lost 2-0. We created 3 gilt-edged chances in the first 20 minutes. Right,
all right,
he had a style. Okay, I'm just saying he had a style. Let me land. He had a style.
Talk about Bournemouth.
He had a style, right?
Talk about Fulham. Talk about Sheffield United.
Yeah, I told you what happened with
Brentford.
Fulham. I told you he didn't have his players available. He didn't have the players to play the system he wants to play.
Hearing that,
no,
you don't want to hear it, but he's still playing with other managers' players. He wants to play a high line, bro. Right? Everyone talks about Ange. Ange is awesome.
Bro, other managers' players, he has most of his players here. He just mentioned Anthony. He's had Mount. He's had
okay.
Let's
do some stats. Let's do some numbers. Let's do some numbers. I did some numbers.
What are you talking about? He has majority of his players here.
I did some numbers. The minutes played.
He's the one that chose Onana to come.
Yeah, okay. Onana played all season, just the way Ederson
he cost us the Champions League. I mean, I'm just saying.
Right, and he's been great in the league. But you think
by the way, the lowest
points,
5 points, the lowest ever points for United.
The lowest
ever
still sitting on the couch. Right? Yeah, so far.
Yeah,
but again, he finished third last year. And he got to he won a cup last year. He got to an FA Cup final. We're in another FA Cup final. We're not mid-table. We're 7th right now. We have the worst injury crisis in Manchester United, maybe not history, obviously, if you go back to the 50s, but at least in modern history, they were saying Manchester United had an injury crisis. I forget what it was. It was, to 15, 16. They were like, oh, we had 34 injuries that year. It's an injury crisis. We've had 60 injuries already.
Can I ask you something real quick before I go? I'm gonna go in 2 minutes.
Trying to sneak that last word in.
What do you think? What do you think about Bruno? What do you think about Bruno Fernandes? I just want to know what you think about it. Do you think he's a good player, a world-class player, or what do you think about him and all the other players that we have? Do you think that there's any world-class players, or they're all crap?
No, I think Bruno's been run into the ground. I think he's a very good player. I don't know if he's world-class, but what I've seen in the last 2 matches is the best of Bruno. In the last 2 matches, he's cut out the stupid passes, the bad decisions, the Hollywood balls that he makes. And he's gone out and he's played a good game the last 2 matches. And it's shown. We've won, and he's been a part of everything good that we've been in the last 2 matches. Right. I don't know. But okay, go ahead. I'll let you land your point. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just the reason why I asked that question, I'm not saying that it's you, but I see a lot of United fans saying that, oh, it's the players. He doesn't have the players. They're not good enough. But then the same guys are the ones that are calling Bruno, like today, oh, he's world class. Bruno is one of the best players. The same guys who are saying that the players aren't good enough are the ones that are hyping up these players. So like this fan base is just I'm not saying it's you, Chris.
One world class player.
I know you're keeping it 100. Anyway. I know you're keeping it 100 with the players. It's just I feel like these fans sometimes they don't think. You know what I mean? To me, Bruno, I would get a better number 10 than Bruno, in my opinion. You know what I mean? That's just me.
I think he's fine. Everyone has different player preferences. But just to land on the point that I was making, Ten Hag style, what he's trying to do is he's trying to press high, win the ball back high, create turnovers, create chances, while the other team is trying to transition from shape, right? And we haven't been able to do that because we can't play a high line because of our slow center backs, because, Casemiro's mummy came back from summer break instead of actually Casemiro. This guy is, dragging his leg all over the pitch. He was decent today, but, this guy he looks washed now, right? I think that if we get players that fit the system, then the system will look different. Then we can judge Ten Hag, truthfully. He had 2 separate teams.
What about the Wolves game?
He had 2 separate teams. Yeah, again,
in the opening,
Martinez didn't look right. He had to have surgery 2 games later because his foot still wasn't right.
So our whole
Varane
system
has
depends on
not looked right.
Martinez. The whole system just depends on Martinez.
It's not
That's
just
what you're
Martinez. Varane has lost a step. He what's his name? Casemiro doesn't look the same. He tried to switch his system. We had 2 midfields last year. I went to 2 games. I went to the Newcastle game, which was one of the most boring games I've ever seen. Newcastle.
I'm going to the Newcastle game this season.
Oh, you are?
On the 15th, yeah.
Hopefully it's a different game because they were like world-class time wasters. It was something like the ball was in play for like 46 of the 93 minutes. It's the reason they had that extra time rule.
I got to bounce, but yo, guys, it's been a pleasure. My bad to interrupt. Yo, let's do this again. Let's do this again next time, bro. Mo, it was nice
for
meeting
sure,
you, bro.
for sure. Yo, Kevin,
nice
thanks for
meeting you,
coming
Kevin.
on. Always appreciate your opinions, and see you next time, man.
Hell yeah, bro. Cheers. Big up.
Okay, now that he's gone, you could admit you're Ten Hag in, right? But no, listen, I understand all of his points. I understand the frustration. I'm watching Coventry, and that first goes in, and I'm like, no. And then that second deflection goes in, and I'm like, end the season now. I can't deal with this anymore. The difference is, I give it a day or two, and then I go back and I try to look at the, games a little bit more objectively. And I do see that he is trying to do something. It's not what everyone likes. It doesn't fit, multiple styles of teams, but he's built multiple successful teams at Ajax. He came in with the highest pedigree of any manager that we've signed, not named Mourinho. At least he's the hottest. Like Mourinho wasn't hot. He was coming off a firing, even though he had won the league. But like he's got a better pedigree than anybody out there. I don't see who we swap him out for that is going to be a good manager. And the stepping stone idea, I don't love.
Now, for my opinion about Erik ten Hag, it's like I don't like the way we're playing. I don't like the games that we lose. Our performance has been awful this season. But with Ineos coming in and the new people coming in behind the scene, I would love to see Erik ten Hag at Old Trafford next season. Just give him another season. Let's see the signings they will do in the summer transfer window. Let's see the players that they'll get rid of. Let's see the recruitment team. What are they up to? What are they going to bring? How many players are going to graduate from the academy to the senior team? For me, I'd love to see Erik ten Hag at Old Trafford next season. Even though it's a top decision, it's a big one. But yeah, give him the chance. Let him see how his 3 years contract, and let's see what happens then. If it's not good enough, maybe we can get rid of him mid-season next year. But if it's good enough, just let him finish his 3 years contract. That's my opinion.
I think you have to make a decision at Christmas anyway if he comes back, because no manager wants to go into the last 6 months of his contract. Will the players listen to you? If you have 6 months left on your contract, right? Like,
or maybe do you want to replace him with Gary Southgate after Euros?
I think I might have to go, support Stockport or something at that moment. Become a New York Red Bulls fan if Southgate takes over. But no, I agree with you. I agree. Give them the structure. Let's see what they do in the summer. Have everyone get healthy. Luke Shaw, have a fullback, a left back finally. And then, the team's a bit more balanced. If we get to Christmas and it still looks broken, then you're right. Get rid of him. Find something new. It didn't work out. But I have a sneaking suspicion if he gets his team, if he gets healthy again and he can play the right players, you can get a DM, 2 fast center backs, and then just health on, the fullbacks, then I think we'll be a different team. But, that's the beauty of the sport.
I agree.
Who knows, right?
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Yeah. Interesting.
All right, we've been on for like a little bit over an hour. You want to call it, or you want to keep going?
Nah,
I know it's super late over there. It's probably midnight, right?
Super late. Yeah, it's 6 minutes past midnight.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, enjoy April 25th over there.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks for hopping on the channel. Really great to have you.
Yeah, I'm always available, bro. Just let me know anytime you want to come on live, and let me know. If I'm available, I'm definitely gonna come on.
For sure. And we gotta win today, so let's at least celebrate that.
I'm gonna be at the Arsenal game at the Arsenal game on the 12th, and then for the Newcastle game as well on the 15th, and then on 25th as well. It's gonna be here in London for the final FA Cup final. So probably, who knows? I usually go to the stadium, so probably maybe I might get you on live or something like that.
Yeah, let's do that for sure. for sure.
Yeah. So we see. Maybe we could plan for that and see how it goes.
Okay, yeah, and I'll just keep plugging along, being positive and
Yeah.
hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best, bro. Thanks for having me on this show.
All right, thanks for coming on, Mo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hey, happy belated birthday anyway.
Huh? Oh, thank you. Yeah, yesterday was my birthday. I
Yeah.
am, many years old.
Yeah. It's a blessing. It's a
No,
blessing.
listen, every year, every other year is a good one, especially with family around. So.
Exactly. Okay.
All right,
And have a good
everybody,
one.
let us know your
Yes.
thoughts, man. Get in there and comment. Tell me who was wrong. Was it me? Was it Kevin? Was it Mo?
Exactly.
I mean, everyone's going to say Kevin's right, because everyone's so mad
Mhm.
right now. But listen, everyone has their opinion, and that's fine. We're all fans. We all experience the game. We all want the best for the team.
The best for the club. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Mo.
Thanks, bro. Cheers.